Hello, everyone, and welcome. I am doing a live stream on my Facebook profile, so thank you to everyone who is watching this live or on replay, #replay. Feel free to comment, and I will address the comments and answer the questions like I always do if you ask or comment. And this particular live stream is going to be made into a podcast. So I'm going to strip the sound from this, and then I'm going to create my 11th podcast episode. If you're not familiar with my podcast, it is Business Fabulous. So you can Google Business Fabulous Podcast. You can get it anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can go to my website and listen. You can check it out on social media. It's running through my Instagram stories right now, and you click on the little thing in the top left, and you'll be listening to it on Spotify. It's on the email that just came out, blah, blah. Okay, so I'm going to talk about these two things. OMG, oh my goodness. All right, online friends are like none other. If you are someone, hey, David, hey, thank you. David is an online friend, and I've never met him in person, but we've been virtual friends for years, and he knows what online friends are like. Online friends are like none other. They are seriously like none other. I had something happen to me yesterday. This weekend was just filled with epiphanies, and I had something happen yesterday, and I thought, this is a podcast episode for sure. Two different people reached out to me yesterday, two online friends. These two people, one man, one woman, they don't know each other. They live in two different cities, only one of them has met me. And they both reached out unsolicited by me, which means they're very brave people because everyone knows what I'm like. And they reached out because they really, truly care. They reached out because they've probably listened to hundreds of my live streams over the years. I've done thousands. On my podcast, I say I've done 2,000, and then I started thinking about it. I've done more than that. Anyway, I've definitely done thousands. So they have probably listened to hundreds of those podcasts, and they were to hundreds of those live streams, and they were listening to my podcast episodes, and they were like, you know what? I need to tell Bonnie, this podcast doesn't sound like her. I'm going to explain. So these two people have known me for years. One has known me virtually for about 5 years. The other one 4 years. Both have followed me online. I've interacted with them over live streams. Oh my goodness, oodles and oodles of times. I was on one of their podcasts. I met one in person at PodFest. The other one I haven't met yet, but hopefully will. And so we've had many interactions over the years, most of which have been virtual. The vast majority have been virtual, and most of the interactions have been just like David and I are chatting here on a live stream, right? Where I'll be live streaming, he's commenting, I will address the comments. And then David, look how I have to read it without glasses. For those of you listening to the podcast, it's like I'm kind of squinting, but my eyes are going so low, it sort of looks like I'm sleeping. And that's how I have to read it without glasses. And he says, wait, and I don't even know if I could do it. Seriously, I don't think I could even do that. I'm going to have to put the glasses on. Oh my God, there's words there. He said, oh Lord, could you imagine the chaos that would be created in the universe if we actually met up in real life? Yes, I agree, David. It could be disastrous. Although I still welcome it. I have to say, I definitely welcome it. I would love to meet you in real life and give you trouble in real life, and then you could give it right back in real life, and it would be really fun in real life. So yes. All right, I digress. So both of these people reached out to me, and they said, you know, your podcast, Bonnie, because they had listened to more than one episode, and they said, your podcast doesn't sound like you. It doesn't sound like your live streams. And one of them said, you are so passionate when you talk in person and when you speak on your live streams, which is true. I'm passionate about everything. Love or hate it. If I love it, I love it to death. If I hate it, I hate it to death. I'm passionate about everything. You know that. So, and she was like, but that's not coming through in your podcast. And both of them asked me in a really nice way. They both asked me who was editing my podcast. And I was like, me, I'm editing my podcast. And one of them said, when you speak, when anyone speaks, there's pauses, there's stops. And he said, when you speak, hey, Susan, welcome. Susan, I told one of my real estate friends to follow you online because you do an exquisite job of real estate online and probably offline too. I've just never met you. So they said, that passion doesn't come through your podcast. And he said, the male who reached out said, when everybody speaks, there's pauses, there's stops, there's some wait time. And he said, you do pause when you speak, and you're giving so much content, you need to give the listeners some time to actually soak in what you're saying. And so like you can listen right now, when I'm speaking, I do pause. And sometimes I pause on purpose, and sometimes I pause because I'm trying to get oxygen and I'm old, but I do pause. And when I was editing, and I was having so much fun editing. I was just Marie Kondoing my podcast all over the place. I was like, cut, delete. I'm just going to clean out all this air. Oh my God. It ended up to sound very robotic. It ended up to taking the me. Oh my God, that was so loud. I literally took the me out of my podcast. I took the passion. I took the inflection. I took the pauses. I took the expression. I took everything that makes me right out of my podcast, so that anybody could really have been just reading the copy of my podcast. I mean, I don't write anything out, but they could have been reading the transcript of my podcast and reproduce my podcast probably in exactly the same way. There was no more me in there. So, and I was, oh my God, I was seriously so thankful, so thankful that these people reached out to me. I told them, I was like, thank you. I was thanking them profusely. So what did I do? And yesterday when they reached out to me, I was editing my podcast. I was editing episode 10, which just dropped today. It's the Business Fabulous podcast. And episode 10 is all about repurposing. It's 25 different ways that you can repurpose your podcast or any piece of content. 25 different ways. And I'm going to be doing that with this exact episode that I'm live streaming right now because, live streaming is one of the ways to repurpose it. So I'm live streaming my podcast. I'm going to strip the sound from my podcast. So the live stream is 1. The podcast is 2. And then if you listen to the podcast or read the show notes over on my website, you'll see some of the others. The podcast details all 25. The show notes just give some. My show notes are like bullet points. Anyway, so that was incredibly insightful. Oh my God, that seriously was an epiphany for me. That was amazing. 25 different ways. Yes, David, 25 different ways. Yes. And there are more, but I ran out of time. What are you going to do? All my episodes are under 30 minutes. And this one, actually, I edited down to 28. Before I started editing, it was about 31. But I did not over edit. I took their advice. I kept the pauses in there, and it sounds like me. I'm so excited. So I am going to go back and re-edit episodes 1 through 9 because I'm anal that way. I'm not looking for perfection because I don't have perfection in episode 10 either. I'm not going to have perfection in this episode. I'm not a perfection person. I used to be when I was little, but I'm not a podcast editor. I'm barely a podcaster. I just started in podcasting. I have much more experience, many more years of experience in terms of social media and marketing, business growth than I do in podcasting. I'm going on 3 months of podcasting here. So I'm not a professional editor, but I can edit either too much or just the right amount to make sure that my voice is in my podcast. And I'm going to make sure that my voice, that the me, is in my podcast from now on. So that was, oh God, it was such a gift this weekend. It was absolutely such a gift. And so both people reached out to me unsolicited. I didn't ask, say, hey, what do you think about my podcast? I've never asked anybody what they think about my podcast. I've, asked a couple of close friends to please listen, and one I knew would give me feedback because I gave her feedback on hers. But I really haven't. And they both, hair issues. They both reached out to me unsolicited, but because they care and because they know what I normally sound like and because they knew I could do better. If they thought, that's it, clearly podcasting, she should get rid of it. She should be done with podcasting. I'm not sure how that whistle is going to sound on the podcast. But, if that was the case, they would not have reached out. They would have just been like, oh, well, she was a much better live streamer, but oh, well, her best years are behind her now. But they knew that I could do better. And that's why they reached out to me, because they cared. They knew me, one, only in person as of March, and before that, not. Both had known me virtually and had followed me and had listened to me for years. So they know what I typically sound like. And that podcast wasn't me. That podcast, the way I was over editing it, the content was totally me. Content's great. My content, I never have a problem with content. But I was over editing it. God, I made myself sound like a robot. So if you want to hear really, really bad editing of a podcast, feel free to listen to episodes 1 through 9. I am going to re-edit them, delete the old, bring in the new, so that those will slowly over time disappear. But if you want to hear a real botch job, feel free to listen. Hello, good morning, Carlos, and belated birthday to you, my young friend. Carlos is still in his 40s. Some of us are not. Anyway, and Carlos and I have been virtual friends as well. So everybody on here that I can see who's commenting, it has been a virtual friend, and none of them, I have not met any of them, the ones who are commenting at least, because with Facebook, if you don't comment, no one knows you're there. They know you're there, but not really. They don't know who's there. So Susan and David and Carlos, I have been virtual friends with them for years. They've seen me through Periscope and Blab and Facebook Live and all of my other platforms that I beta tested, and some have come and gone. And I have not met any of them, but I do consider all of them friends, and they have been very, very good friends to me over the years. David, you can't say happy birthday to Carlos now. His birthday was like 2 weeks ago. I can say it because I think I already wished him a happy birthday online. I'm pretty sure I did, but I don't know that you did. So I'm not sure that you can really do that now. But he did say thank you because he's nice that way. So when you reach out to friends, and this is the reason why I wanted to talk about online friends and then our they're not always real friends in person. The people who are closest to you in real life are always going to try to keep you safe. They're always going to try to keep you safe. They don't want to see you hurt. I don't want to see me hurt, but they don't want to see you hurt. And they are probably, unless it's like that best friend who can tell you anything and you will take it, and you will tell him or her anything and they will take it, and you've got that kind of relationship, and that is rare. I have that with only a couple of people. And that's rare. Unless they're like that, and that's the BFF. Unless they're like that, they're not really going to tell you what you need to hear. They're going to tell you what you want to hear, or they're not going to tell you anything at all. So a lot of times the people closest to us, our family, our friends, they're trying to keep us safe. Maybe they've seen us sad, and maybe they've seen us mad, maybe they've seen us gone through, as we say in the old country, mishigas, crazy mixed up things. Maybe they've seen chaos in our lives and they don't want us to suffer anymore. And so they just want us to be safe. They just want everything to be okay. They don't want us to cry. They don't want us to be sad. They don't want us to be depressed, blah, blah, on and on and on. Well, that's wonderful. I don't want me to be any of those things any longer either. However, these two people took a risk and told me, and it's always a risk to, step up to Bonnie sometimes because we all know what I'm like. So they took a risk and they were like, you know what? I know she didn't ask me, but I'm going to tell her because I know her. I know what she usually sounds like. The content is still great, but it's not her, and people are going to not listen because of the sound. Therein lies the difference. That's the huge difference between live streaming and podcasting. Live streaming, you see somebody going through your feed and it's a live stream, and if you like them and you know them and you trust them or any of those things, or you're just interested or they're acting wacky and you want to see what's going on, you're going to click on it and you're going to listen. Well, on a podcast, if the sound is not good enough, and it could just be the sound, or it could be also the production, the editing, hello, my mess up. If that's not good enough, they're going to go away. And the likelihood of them coming back is very slim to none at all. It's exactly the same as if on your website, for example, a link doesn't work. Like if somebody goes to your website, everyone check your links. When somebody goes to your website, if they want a freebie, if they want to download, or if they want to sign up for like a strategy session, or if they, whatever it is, they want to see how much a course costs, something, and they click on it and the link doesn't work, the likelihood of them reaching out and emailing you or DMing or PMing you online is it's non-existent. You're never going to know they were there. You're never going to know they were interested in buying that thing or getting that thing, whatever it was. And they're probably very likely also not going to tell you the link doesn't work. I always tell people links don't work because I know I want to know when they don't work. So please, if my links ever don't work, please, dear God, let me know. I mean, God probably won't let me know, but maybe some of my virtual friends who are #the best will let me know. So yeah, it's super important that we do everything we can to give people the content we're trying to give them in the easiest way possible. If they have to click 5 things before they get something, they're not going to get that thing because they're not going to do all those clicks. It is a pain. It doesn't take a long time, but it's a pain. And why would I click till the cows come home to get something when it's like, you know what, this other person has pretty much the same thing and it's one click and then they never come back. And that's what it's like with a podcast too, because all they can go by is the sound. That's all they can go by. So they might be listening to your podcast on Alexa, on a Google Home, on their in their car, whatever they got going on through Bluetooth. They might be listening with their earbuds. The likelihood of them listening with something like this, noise-canceling headphones, is 0. No one's going to listen to your podcast with noise-canceling headphones the way you listen to your podcast and edit it. Nobody's going to do that. And one of these friends reminded me about that yesterday, and I needed that reminder. He was like, you know what, Bonnie? Most people are listening to your podcast, any podcast, not just mine. Most people are listening to your podcast with earbuds. So, do your editing, but then listen back to it with earbuds. And if it's good enough, it's good enough, because that's the way they're going to hear it. No one will scrutinize anything you do more than you and your coach, if you've got a good one. No one will scrutinize what you do more than you, besides you and your coach, if you've got a good one. And those are hard to find. I happen to think I am one. So I am so hard on myself, but I was like, in my head, I was like, I got to get out these pauses. This is taking too much time. No one's going to hang out for all this time. The irony of that is that I was probably pushing people away who would have hung out for the whole 2 other minutes that I was editing out of my podcast. They would have hung out for that. But now they're not going to, because now it doesn't even sound like me. So that was such, oh my God, that was seriously such a gift, such an incredible gift that these people gave me over the weekend. Such a huge gift. And once again, they had no skin in the game. There was nothing in it for them. They weren't going to gain anything. Ironically, they gained a great deal. I already respected them, but they gained a great deal more of my respect and more of my friendship, because I'm so appreciative that they did it, because they knew I could do better, and I could do better, and I wasn't doing better because I had stupidness in my head. That's a word, because I just said it. I had stupidness in my head. Like, it was too long. I don't even know why. I'm going to put my glasses on now so I could read the comments. Oh, there are words there. David says, people also scrutinize themselves about something that they haven't even done yet or even taken the first step. Yes, exactly, David, exactly. And, a lot of you know, glasses off now, a lot of you know that I started a gratitude journal. So I write in my gratitude journal. Just any old journal will do, a sticky note will do, a piece of paper will do, anything. Your hand, write it on your hand, whatever. Write it on the bathroom mirror and something that will erase. Not lipstick. That's not a good idea. Don't do that. But the people listening now, I don't think have lipstick, so it's okay. They're all right. So yes, I wrote in my gratitude journal this morning about that now I'm much more aware of when I self-sabotage, so that I can, what we call course correct. I can fix it. Doesn't mean I always fix it. And it doesn't mean I always fix it totally the way I should. But I'm much more able now to recognize when I'm self-sabotaging. And that's what David's talking about. When you're scrutinizing yourself so much, it's like you're crazy making, right? You're making yourself so crazy about it. I can't do this and it won't be perfect, and I need to do this and that and the other, and I don't know how to do this and that and the other yet. And so I'm not even going to start, because all I'm going to do is think about all the this, that, and the other, and then I get nothing done. So yeah, self-sabotage is huge, 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 huge. And that's how huge it is. I said it 3 times. And it's so much a part of why most people never become an entrepreneur and why most of those people quit. Most people, the vast majority of people who start a business, who are entrepreneurs, they start a business, quit within the first 6 months. Knock on wood. Hello, open the door. Those are the hardest 6 months you're ever going to have. Hello. So quitting then, you're quitting when it's the hardest. Once you hang in there, it's going to get easier. Hello. Yes, it really will. And I have passed the 5-year mark. Oh my God, over 90%, well over 90% never make it to 5 years. I knew I would when I started 5 years ago basically on July 5th of 2014. It's basically when my business actually started, because that's when I started live streaming. I knew that I would succeed because, 2015 is when I started live streaming. I actually started my business the year before. Sorry, I digress. Old, I forget. But I knew I was going to succeed because I simply wasn't going to give up. I was not going to give up. I was going to do whatever it took to succeed. And sometimes it was really, really hard. I have a clean podcast, so I'm not going to curse or say anything close to it, but it was really hard. And that's one of the reasons why I started a gratitude journal on December 1st. And all I start with every morning is, I have a 5x7 journal. I just buy them wherever I buy them, and blank journals. And I start with, I'm grateful for. I date it, and I write entry number whatever. And I think I did entry 247 or 248 today. I can't remember. I started on December 1st, so whatever that means. And I'm grateful for, and then I just write a page every day. I'm grateful for. I start exactly the same way, and I write my page, and I end it with XO, because I give myself a hug and a kiss, sort of fake, on the journal at the end every single time. And I talked about self-sabotage, and I talked about how I'm much more able now to recognize it, and I can course correct. Doesn't mean I always do it. Sometimes I'm like, you know what? I know I'm sabotaging myself. I know it, and I'm just going to do it for the rest of the day. And literally, I acknowledge it to myself in my head silently. Sometimes I do talk to myself, but usually when it's self-sabotage, I'm like, you know what? I'm thinking to myself, I'm just going to do it for the rest of the day. Yep, I am. I'm going to wallow in my own self-pity. I'm going to not move my business forward. In fact, I'm going to move it backwards a little bit for the rest of the day. And then I'm going to get up tomorrow. I'm going to start again. I'm going to get up tomorrow. I'm going to make my bed. Here's my morning routine. I'm going to make my bed. I'm going to drink my coffee. It's frothy coffee on a good day when I remember to have gotten milk. I drink my water, and I write in my gratitude journal, and I move my body in some manner. Those are my 5 steps. That's my morning routine every day. So even if I have a day, and I've had many of them over the past 3 years, even if I have a day where I'm wallowing in my own self-pity or I'm self-sabotaging myself and I know it, sometimes I'm still like, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to move my business forward today. And I knowingly do not move my business forward today. And maybe I knowingly eat that bag of barbecued potato chips. And I'm not talking the small bag, people. I'm not. So yeah, sometimes I do that. And then you know what? The next day I get up, I do my morning routine. I make sure that I have, maybe more water that day and maybe some smoothies with some things in it that are going to make sure that all that salt doesn't stay in my body. And I try again. Hello, Kimberly. Hello, girlfriend. I love that you're here. I love it. So, yes, David, I am that old. David says I'm not that old, but I am. I'm 54, so it is that old. Yeah. Kimberly's like, sometimes it just is what it is. Guilt gets you nowhere. Exactly. Right. One of my clients yesterday and another virtual friend did a great live stream all about shame and guilt. It was fabulous. I shared it on Facebook. So if you go through my Facebook feed, bonnie.frank.3, don't ask, but that's my personal feed. That's what it is. Then you'll see it. Her name is Christina Wall, and she did a great live stream all about shame and guilt. So online friends are the best. Virtual friends are like none other. Thank you, God, so much for the 2 people who reached out to me yesterday. And literally, my life has been better simply by knowing them. And my life has changed for the better because of how they helped me yesterday. So that's what I'm talking about. This live stream is going to be repurposed into episode number 11 of the Business Fabulous podcast. It will drop next Monday. So all of my podcasts come out, all of my episodes come out on Mondays. Every 5 episodes, I do a bonus episode. So every 5 weeks, you get 2 in a week. Other than that, you get 1 a week. Hello, Monica. Oh, my goodness. Monica, I apologize. I did not see that you came in before. Hello. Oh, my goodness. And hello, thank you. She said, for those of you hearing the podcast, she put in the comments, hello. She said, I've been missing your rye wisdom. And that is sweet. And once again, Monica is an online friend, a virtual friend, and we met through Perry Girls so many years ago. So yes, I love that you are here and watching and listening. Thank you. So if you want to learn about repurposing your podcast, if you want to learn about repurposing your content, that's what this past episode is. It dropped yesterday. It's episode 10. I give you 25 I'm showing my hands, 25 different ways to repurpose your content, 25 different ways. So I don't care what content you're talking about out there. I use the example of a podcast, but it could be any piece of content. and I give you loads and loads of detailed strategies to repurpose that content. So nobody's got time to do everything a million times over. Repurpose your greatness. Thanks so much for being here. I'm so glad that you were. I love that you were watching me live. Hello. And now I'm going to go edit this and make this a podcast. Thanks a lot, guys. I love that you're here. Have an awesome, awesome day.